Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Terra critical walkthrough. This is Disney Town. I hate Disney Town, I really do. I wanted to like it, guys. I didn't come into it, wanting to be a sour heart, but I ended up being that way because I think it adds absolutely nothing to the game. It's a very colourful environment with a decent battle soundtrack, but that normal soundtrack, that awful repeating drone of just, I'm going to chew through my wrist by the end of this level, is just not good, and it drives you to utter madness. And the only real things to do here are a bunch of minigames, and I don't think any of them are all that fun. Like, the volleyball's okay, the kart racing is kart racing, and I'm not a fan. Like, the ice cream thing, I don't like at all. It's a hub for other people, but not me. It's not my thing. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be traversing, doing some shops, picking some stuff up. One of the interesting parts about this place is on certain campaigns, you can get access to glide here and better glides that you shouldn't get so early. And all you need to do is string together a couple of dashing moves that give you forward momentum. And then between the jump and the forward dodge, you can then do those techniques to cover an insane amount of ground and pick up a move you're not really meant to have. And then from there you can proceed to get a lot of items and a lot of magics that are a little bit higher than where you are. And I love the idea of that, but there's not enough of it in my opinion. And if there is, it probably involves techniques that I'm not aware of. But right there is Zantezuken. That is of course the striking blow by Odin. I remember it famously from Final Fantasy VIII, because it came whenever he wanted to, and those famous words were on the screen. In this game, I think it's just a powerful strike that can cause death. I'm not entirely sure though, guys, because once again, I recorded this over a year ago, and my memory of Birth by Sleep is decent, but it's not great when it comes to the minutiae of the game. So to compensate for that, I've added in these moments where I'm going to be buying things so that you can see what I'm picking up. But I hope that if you're looking to this, you already have a decent foundation of the game and of those fundamental mechanics, and all you're watching this for is to perhaps see some ways to dodge some things or some interesting ways to attack and be aggressive. Because let's face it, folks, Terra is the hardest campaign in this game. It's the hardest campaign because he fights the hardest bosses, it's the hardest campaign because he does not have an exploitable dash. The dashes that Aqua and Ventus have are god tier. You can just spam them. It's like Final Fantasy Type 0 all over again. I don't mind it, because a lot of the bosses that you fight in this game, especially the optional ones, you need those kind of dodges because the bosses are kind of bullshit. Most of the bosses in the campaign I think are really fair and very balanced, and you don't necessarily need it. But Terra doesn't have it. Terra has a limit to his dash, he has recovery frames. He can't block omnidirectionally, he only blocks in front, so everything about Terra is a much more difficult experience of the Birth by Sleep formula, and I like that a lot, but it has to be said, the final boss in this campaign is really, really annoying. It's just... I don't understand, right guys? There will be mechanics in video games I will never truly understand, it's just how it will be. One of them is healing. Bosses that can heal lead to very interesting scenarios. I think the idea of a heal is fine, but it has to be punishable. The idea that a boss can just heal and it's fuck you, try again, I don't think that adds anything but frustration to the player. There is no redeeming quality for a mechanic like that. There has to be some kind of punish or benefit, because then it breeds the mentality of counter-hitting, it breeds the mentality of waiting and exploiting a technique and getting the upper hand because of it. Heals in Kingdom Hearts are so fast you can't punish them. There's no real punish for them. There may be a punish for the final boss in this game, who I do believe heals when it comes to his penchant for getting his life back, but I have not figured it out. And this is interesting too, the whole human pinball thing. I would like to enjoy these moments, but I often find it a little bit too luck dependent when you're trying to go quick. And I'm no speedrunner, but I imagine speedrunners are really frustrated with that sequence, or they've got some kind of awesome sequence break to get rid of it. Maybe you don't even have to come up here. I don't know Disney Town very well, guys, so I'm just going the path that I went on my first playthrough, which is just trying to get to this door. And there's a couple of items up here and things if you're looking for treats. But an example of punishing a heal. Can you remember in Metal Gear Rising, when Armstrong does his heal, you can punish it, you can stop it. He still gets a little bit of life back, but it's nowhere near the same as a full heal or some kind of bullshit heal. Remember in that funny Darkside Phil video, where he's playing Persona 3 and the final boss charms his party and they start healing the final boss? You can probably do things about charm in that game, perhaps a piece of equipment or an accessory that allows you to be immune to charm so that you don't fall for it. There will be some kind of defense for that. Phil didn't know about it, so of course he rage quit on a playthrough people paid for, because that's just how he works. But there's probably a defense for that kind of heal, and it doesn't necessarily have to happen. I'm completely ignorant of Persona, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to assume that the developers are kind enough to give you some kind of counteraction to that. Look at Demon Souls. In Demon Souls, the Black Knight equivalent are the Blue and Red Eyes Knights. These are creatures that are very dangerous, hit massively, take a lot of damage, and are just as capable as anything you'll fight in that game. Just as capable as you. And if you give them distance when they're dying, they will pop grass. And grass is just as fast as your grass, which means it's a very quick heal. But you can punish it, because you can keep in a distance where they can't safely do it, and if they do it, you can backstab them, or you can hit them in a stun lock, or you can do whatever it is you like to do. And that's the point. Good gameplay, when it comes to healing enemies, is giving them the ability to get their life back, but understanding that the player should be able to use skill to avoid it. God Hand is a game that features on this channel quite a lot, that only the most elite watch, you know, the hardcore of my fans, and the God Hand people, which is about 200 serious people, and that's awesome, but everybody else doesn't watch it. In that game, just to kind of give you an idea of how it handles this mechanic, there is a boss that is a gorilla who likes to wrestle, and he does all kinds of wrestling moves to you. When you get him to half his life... Oh, by the way, guys, this is an example of using the mechanics of the game to get to an area that you're probably not meant to get to just yet. Like, I think you're meant to do this when you have Super Slide, or Super Glide, maybe, and I just use 2 sliding dashes because that's how powerful they are. Really useful to traverse rooftops. As I was saying, though, sorry, when you get this gorilla down to half life, he will command a little minion to come into the arena who's carrying bananas. And of course, gorillas love bananas, or so the movies tell me. He then will do anything to get to this little dude to eat those bananas and heal. But you can eat those bananas too, so you can heal. Or you can just beat him up when he's trying to get to him and stop him from getting near it. There is a whole host of ways to use that moment to your advantage. And that's what makes it work. That's why I will not call bullshit to that moment, even if I have in the past, because it's functional and it's fair. A boss that can immediately heal with no punish is just kind of the game's way of saying fuck you. And if you've ever fought the mysterious stranger in this game, that's a fuck you. Right in the mouth. Tickling the tonsils, gagging, everything, retching, the whole reflex is simulated. And it's just because he just can heal. He can just pull a bunch of clones and do a bunch of moves and put you in a mix-up that's probably unavoidable. Like, it's just a bullshit fight. And that's the type of stuff I wish they would do better. I really do. But we've made it to the focus of today's video, which is of course the racing. The racing is by no means bad, but I'm just not much of an arcadey racing game guy anymore. I used to be Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart, you know, Beetle Adventure, pretty much the N64 era of these kind of games, but it's not something that I'm all that interested in now. And when they make it mandatory in the game, I find that a little frustrating for the players who have no interest. If you love this kind of stuff, if you're like a Crash Team Racing expert, you love Mario Kart 8 or however many they're on now, then you'll probably have a blast here. But I find this to be witheringly tedious. But my tips are simple for the people who might be having trouble. Try to avoid all the hazards that I'm hitting. Try to hit that shortcut at the beginning to get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of an edge on your opponents. And don't stress too much about this because I'm 5th right now and I still manage to do what needs to be done to get the win or to get whatever you need to finish the level. So it should be fine. Chances are this might be optional, but I don't think it is. If it is optional, I'll cry in a corner later on like Ace Ventura. But just, you know, do what you can. Try to maintain your lead. Notice the rubber banding that this game undoubtedly will have. That's my main problem with a lot of racing games. That was a terrible corner by me just then. Lost all momentum and got past. But the shortcut's going to give us the boost, and it's also going to give us a nice bit of free progress, so use it, guys. And by the time you're on the 5th lap, you'll know this course a little bit better, and you might be a bit more familiar with the controls. Because if you're anything like me, I only ever do this once, because I tend to do it, and it's not graceful, but at least it gets done. And I sound kind of ungrateful, don't I, that this sequence exists? That's not really my intention, I'm not a fan of it. I love the idea, and this is something I want to reinforce in my commentaries. When it comes to distractions and moments like this, I miss these in games. I miss moments where the game just decides to do something silly. I appreciate them so much, but my issue with it is oftentimes they pick bad things to have you doing. And that's a problem to me, because the minigame should be a draw. They should be something you want to get back to. And there will no doubt be people that love the minigames and want to get back to them, but to me, I just don't think they're interesting enough, because I like something a little bit deeper. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.